It's weird that you say that because you'd be surprised at how motivating a breakup song can be. Like, I had something, it was a Roxette song.
Okay.
It shuffled onto my iPhone.
While you were exercising?
While I was lifting weights.
Oh, that's funny.
And it was not a little bit of weight. It was a lot.
I think that's more of a comment on what might be going on in your personal life than the music.
We're back with another episode of Comedy on 11, the show where I talk to my comedian friends about comedy and music, and we turn the laughs up to 11. I'm Thom Tran. This is my show. This week's guest is my buddy Adam Freeman. This was a very interesting conversation about his early days working at MTV, what it's like working with the band Kiss, and why Total Request Live gave him a new appreciation for different kinds of music. Got a bunch of cool stuff coming up, so check out my website, thomtran.com, for more details. Thanks for listening. Now, let's hit it. All right, so comedy and music, it's like, they're like rice cakes. You hear those words together and you're like, I don't think this is a good idea. And then
Somehow
you're like,
it makes sense.
Yeah, you take a bite of a rice cake and you're like, you know what, I don't hate this. It's not the worst thing in the world.
Well, don't they say all comedians want to be rock stars and all rock stars want to be comedians?
That is interesting that you say, because that is a question that I typically ask our guests.
Yeah.
So we'll just get started with that. I'm Thom Tran. I'm here with my guest, Adam Freeman. This is Comedy on 11, the show where I talk to my comedian friends about comedy and music, and we turn the laughs up to 11. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. I'm doing well. So let me ask you, where did you hear that quote?
I think it was a tribute. I don't know where I heard it, but I mean, if you look back to the 80s, even the 70s, like Eddie Murphy, all the concerts would start with him walking from the limo with bodyguards, and he was wearing leather, and it was like comedians were just trying to create that vibe, and then so many musicians, at the same time in the 80s, Twisted Sister was doing Animal House ripoffs in their videos, and obviously David Lee Roth was over the top. Like, there was a whole humorous kind of angle to a lot of video, and then of course there's Weird Al that straddled that line. I don't know. There's just always been a cross pollination between comedy and music.
Okay, because we are, I believe, 10 or 11 episodes in, and I keep attributing that to Dave Grohl.
Okay.
And I have not taken the time to go on the internet and look it up. I think I may have one time, and it just gave me a generic answer.
Okay.
So
of who attributed it?
Yeah.
I don't know. But you think, and think about SNL. Some of the best hosts of SNL have been Justin Timberlake was amazing on SNL.
Musicians.
Yeah. Even Bad Bunny was funny on SNL. So it's like.
So tell the audience a little about your CV, your comedy and music CV, because that's one of the reasons I wanted you to come on the show.
Music CV. Well, I mean, I come from a long line of musicians. My dad was a jazz drummer. My grandfather was a vaudeville musician. I started playing. I play a couple of instruments, all poorly, but started with the drums because they were always in my house with my dad. And at the same time, his two passions were music and were comedy. So he'd play a Count Basie record, and then he'd play a Robert Klein record, and then he'd play, whoever and then the Crusaders was a group he played a lot, and then he would play Flip Wilson, So it was like always, what you're exposed to. It's just what I was always just flooded with. It was Mel Brooks, and it was jazz and big band and Bob James, like 70s jazz and stuff like that. And then when I graduated college, my first job out of school was at MTV.
Oh, wow.
So I drove from my college graduation. I'm dating myself now. I drove from graduation to the Hamptons to be a van driver at the first ever MTV Beach House.
Wow.
And so my job that summer was to just drive, if you know New York or Long Island at all, to just drive the VJs from the Hamptons on the LIE, the Long Island Expressway, back to Manhattan to get dropped off. And that was all I did. I made that trip, which in beach traffic is about 4 hours one way. I probably did that 3 or 4 times a day, driving Bill Bellamy and Daisy Fuentes and John Norris and all the Kennedy and all those peeps.
Yeah. Wow, they've all taken different paths in their careers, haven't
Yes.
they? You bring up those 3 names specifically.
Well,
I'm like,
Kennedy was always, people seem so shocked that she's on Fox, but
Right.
she's was always conservative. She had a Republican tattoo on her ankle from the time she was like
Really?
17, 18. She was always super conservative.
Okay.
Yeah, even though, she was, I should say, she was socially liberal, doesn't care who you marry, who you have sex with, who you whatever, but like fiscally and like military and stuff like that, she was always very, very conservative.
yeah, you know what? And I think that's kind of the way it should be. I don't know why this podcast is turning political, but like there should be, and I think it was a Chris Rock joke where he was like, some things I'm conservative
Yeah, it doesn't
about,
have to be
something I'm liberal
all
about.
one way. My dad was a big his other passion was he was a big gun collector. Didn't hunt or anything. He shot for competition and stuff like that. And he was very socially liberal when it came to rights and things like that. But he also was like a don't take my guns guy.
Right.
And so yeah, he would say the same thing. He'd be like, both can be true.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the danger is when it's all the way one side or all the way the other side without any actual wisdom behind any of that. But let's get away from that because that's not fun talk. You hear about that all the time. I just swore. I'm trying to swear less. Life in general.
Yes.
But also it makes editing this podcast a lot easier. How important is music in your life, would you say?
It's huge. And again, it's what you were raised with. There was always music playing. There was always, so it's in my car, it's at home. I listen to vinyl every day, like while I work. It's just hugely important. I play in like an all dad, like fun, just neighborhood cover band. Yeah, it's humongous. It's just an ever present force in my life.
So like every day you got to get up and
every day. It's I listen to music in the shower. I'm listening to music around the house the minute I get in the car, because I have so much trouble shutting my brain off at night. Lots of times I go to sleep at night with music playing.
Oh, really?
I always need like music or the TV on. So I literally will go to sleep like with earbuds in, and then wake up in the morning. I have to find wherever the hell they scattered to. But yeah, music is probably the biggest presence in my life, like on a daily basis.
Are different activities assigned to different bands or genres or anything like that? Or is it just like, I need something in the background to keep the voices from screaming all the time?
It's interesting. I grew up, as I think you did, I grew up in like the mixtape age.
Absolutely,
Like I was obsessive about mixtapes, about the running order, what they were named, the artwork on the cassette, So once it became digital, like I have 1,000 playlists that I've made on my phone or my computer. So I have a playlist like for everything. I have a playlist for when I'm working that's more like orchestral, like the Alien soundtrack,
Really?
and the Ex Machina soundtrack, and like things like that, like in the background. And then there's, when I'm driving, when I need a pick me up, like I literally have a thing called Happy. That's just like the music that makes me smile. I have a playlist called Sing Along, which is not, I have a horrible voice, but if I'm alone in the car and I just need to like get almost cursed again, get stuff out, like I have a sing along play. Right. So it's like there's a playlist for everything.
Right. So you do have like a prescribed type of music.
Yeah, it's not like when I do this, I need, unless like, on the rare occasions that I exercise, like it obviously has to be upbeat or like, heavier, or like, that's when like, some of the punk will come in, or like Helmet, or like, like Ministry or Nine Inch Nails, stuff like that.
It's weird that you say that, because you'd be surprised at how motivating a breakup song can be. Like I had something, it was a Roxette song.
Okay.
Shuffled onto my iPhone.
While you were exercising?
While I was lifting weights.
Oh, that's funny.
And it was not a little bit of weight. It was a lot. I think
that's more of a comment on what might be going on in your personal life than the music.
It's not, not all the time. It's not like every time I go on, it's got to be a sad breakup song.
Right.
But like normally I hit shuffle and I have a workout playlist.
Yeah.
Like and I have broke it down to like, this is what I listen to when I lift weights. But then I have like just my generic Apple Watch. Like, here's 1,000 songs on my watch.
Right.
And I just hit shuffle one day, and it went from like Megadeth to Brother Kane, and then Listen to Your Heart by Roxette. And I'm in the middle of a set
that's funny.
Like, I think I was bench pressing, and I was like doing 175, and I'm going, this is, and I didn't switch it. I was like, I listened to the whole thing through.
Yeah, well, you're, whatever motivation you need. I don't know if that would help me. As a married guy of 25 years, but yeah, I mean, it's whatever. Sometimes it's just the BPMs. Sometimes some people, it's the lyrics. It's like they need the motivation.
Yeah, it's weird when you're like in tears lifting weights at the gym, and other
crying.
people are like, "Hey, man, are you okay?"
That's funny.
Do you have a song or an artist that when you hear it, it puts you in a place in your life?
Oh yeah, I almost everything does. Mm-hmm. Every artist, I so closely connect music with memories or with people. If I hear like old U2, I think of high school, and I met this whole new group of friends. It was like when I fell in with the musicians and the artists in high school, and one of them was in an all U2 cover band. So that whole like Under a Blood Red Sky like era, like Unforgettable Fire, like I just remember, going to their shows and hearing them play. When I think of like an REM or something, I think of college and trips that I would take with my best friend at the time, who was an REM freak. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I hear big band or jazz, I think of like, growing up in my household. Yeah, everything has like an image or a memory like attached to it.
What is a song that once it comes on, you're like, I can't listen to this? Like it puts you in such a broken heartbroken place.
Warren Zevon, Keep Me in Your Heart Tonight.
Oh, okay.
He was dying of cancer. He knew he was dying of cancer when he recorded his last album. And this song is like, keep me in your heart for a while. Like when I'm gone, right. Remember me. And it's like, oh my God, I lose it every time I hear that song. Yeah.
That's intense stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's like when Bowie released his last album.
That last record. Yeah. Black Star, while he was dying. Yeah. This was like heartbreaking. Yeah.
Is there a song that when it comes on, you're like, I won't skip this? That people would be surprised that you're...
People are constantly surprised, and I'll tell you why. Because, and so going back to MTV for a second, when I was at MTV, once I started producing my own shows, I was lucky enough to fall into producing shows for the music that I liked.
Okay.
So I used to produce a show called 120 Minutes with Matt Pinfield, and I produced a show called Alternative Nation with Kennedy.
I remember that.
And those were like the alternative college rock, like those were my bands. I was the Pixies and Jane's Addiction and all that stuff.
REM for a hot second.
REM. And then I got promoted, and on a Friday, I went from 120 Minutes to Monday, I was producing Total Request Live. And that was my reaction. Like, why is the Pixies guy now like with Backstreet Boys? But producing Total Request Live every day completely changed the way I viewed music. It purged me of the snob.
Okay.
Because you hear those songs over and over, and not that I would play Britney in the car or on the subway, whatever, but like TRL made me appreciate a good song for being a good song.
Okay.
Even if it's not something that I would listen to. And then that made me go back and rediscover all this music that I had written off because it wasn't the genre that I listened to.
Okay.
So if you listen to my mix, not tapes, if you listen to my mix mini discs at the time.
Mini discs.
I loved mini discs. That was the best format ever.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I was DJing at a bar for a while, and I talked them into getting mini disc players instead of CD players.
Oh,
and they were great until the format absolutely.
Oh, because at the time, they were easy to record as cassette. You could skip. It was, I loved it. I used even recording music. We would like record to mini disc. It was amazing.
The first single I ever recorded was on a mini disc.
Yeah, loved it. So, but if you listen to my mix mini discs at the time, it might have, it might have like a Matthew Sweet song. It might have a Metallica song, a Rollins Band song, a a Thelonious Monk song.
Nice.
It might have Donna Summer. Like it was so eclectic. And then when the iPod came in and you could just hit shuffle and listen to anything from your entire music collection, and that gave birth to like in LA, Jack FM, like those kind of formats and stuff. It just TRL made me like appreciate and just a good song for a good song.
What's a song that you came to appreciate that really took you by surprise? That when you went back and you listened to it, it's like, oh yeah, I dig this.
I'll say NSYNC, Bye Bye Bye. And now because of like Deadpool and stuff, like but like I've heard that song from like
a gazillion times,
literally 5,000-6,000 times. Yeah. Michael Jackson, Can't Stop Till You Get Enough.
Okay.
That whole Off the Wall album is amazing. What else that what was that you'd be surprised that
what surprised you?
Oh,
when you finally came to the realization that like good music is good music, and then you went back and you're like, oh wow, this is really a great song.
Dancing Queen.
Okay. Little ABBA.
Yeah, like the songs that I would write off as like AM radio, like, oh, this isn't the who I got really into was Antonio Carlos Jobim, like Bossa Nova, Girl from Ipanema, stuff that just nowadays is written off as elevator music or like it's the butt of a joke.
Muzak.
You listen to the Brazilian, like sambas and stuff, and it's like it's amazing. And musicianship's amazing. Singing in Portuguese, it's the first time like I ever, like especially with heavy metal, like you see people, in Japan or France, like screaming along to Megadeth or Motorhead just phonetically because they don't know the words.
Yeah.
Like I know the words to Jobim, so I have no idea what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Unless you listen to the Sinatra version where he does it in English. So yeah, I mean, so much. I just love music. Is literally my life.
I mean, Bon Jovi's still gigantic in Japan.
Yeah.
The 80s in general.
Oh yeah,
still huge.
They're trapped. Well, yeah, they're trapped there.
Yeah, which is not a bad place to be trapped.
No,
I mean,
it's okay.
if you got the technology of 2025 and you have the music and the drugs of the 1980s,
see, that was another genre that I didn't appreciate. Like
drug music.
No, like in the hair metal era and stuff. I worked when I was in high school. I worked in the local record store, and a local record store on Long Island. It was Poison and it was Rat and it was Steve Vai when that Joe Satriani record came out.
Yeah,
the Surfing with the Alien came out. It was like, oh my god, that cassette was on in the store in a loop.
Which, by the way, Kevin Feige, if Joe Satriani isn't on the soundtrack
for Silver Surfer with the Fantastic Four,
if he's not on the soundtrack for Fantastic Four, fail, Kevin Feige.
Exactly.
Fail.
Exactly. The way like Sabbath had to be somewhere in Iron Man.
Yeah.
But so at the time it was all 80s hair metal, and that was not my music, despite the fact that Twisted Sister is from my hometown. It was not my kind of music, and now I can go back and listen to Bon Jovi, and I have a cheesy metal like playlist on my thing also. That's all because they're good pop songs.
Yeah.
There's what is it?
Nothing But a Good Time.
Nothing But a Good Time. That's a great song. Yeah. You Give Love a Bad Name. That's a great song. Round and Round. Those are great songs. But I wouldn't have appreciated before.
Right. What's the weirdest shuffle you had on your phone or on your iPod that you were listening to one song and then the next song came on? You're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think there was one where it was there was Candle in the Wind, and then it went to Sugar Cube's I think the song's called Car Crash. And I was like, okay, that's a little serendipitous. There have been ones like that where, your brain makes the connection, some Cat Stevens song about like, where do the children play or something, and then Michael Jackson comes on right after, and it's like, all right.
How did you get into comedy? How did that come about?
Besides just being exposed to it, I became a comedy nerd. At the same time, I became a music nerd. Do you remember 2XL?
Yes.
So my dad had a lot of comedy records on 8-track, and 2XL, maybe you could put up a visual or something. I know, but 2XL was basically an 8-track player.
Right.
And so I had Steve Martin, all the Steve Martins on 8-track. Once I figured out you could play 8-track tapes in my 2XL, I was listening to all Carlin and Steve Martin and Cheech and Chong and stuff on my 8-track. And and my dad was a huge Mel Brooks fan, so I was the only 10-year-old that knew like the 2,000-Year-Old Man records by heart, you know? And I think looking back on it, I think I just loved laughter and the fact that you can elicit a response, because going back and listening to those records and those movies now, I obviously did not get the jokes at that age.
Right.
But I think I just liked the fact that someone could talk and people reacted that way.
Yeah.
So I was always obsessed with comedy. I always wanted to be a stand-up comedian. But I was just too, to be honest, just too afraid. And then I kept doing things in my professional career that scratched the itch just enough that I guess it gave me an excuse not to do it myself. So MTV, right? Where are all the MTV VJs from? They're either DJs, models, or they're comedians. So when you have
I just realized that.
Bill
Yeah,
Bellamy,
you're right.
you have Pauly Shore,
Dennis
you know,
Leary.
Dennis Leary, Jon Stewart. You have John Ailes was a great comic that was on. You know, you have all these. So the comedians that were on MTV recognized me as a fellow nerd.
Okay.
So I ended up working with them a lot and writing for them, and that kind of scratched the itch.
Cool.
And then when I left MTV and went on, I produced Wild 'N Out with Nick Cannon, and then I produced the Chelsea Handler Show. So I was always around comedy, and I always got that itch scratched. But then finally, I was like, I just got to do it myself.
Okay.
And finally took the plunge.
What was your first spot?
My first spot was an open mic, 11 p.m. open mic at Flappers.
Okay. And how'd it go?
3 minutes.
All right.
I think I got one laugh, but for me, it was like I just ran a marathon. Like, because I remember walking back to my car afterwards, just going, and I'm gonna curse. You're gonna have to edit it. Walking back to my car, going like, "Holy shit, I did it!"
Right.
How many decades did it take me? Like, if I never get on stage again, I did stand up once.
Right.
So for me, it was a huge victory, even though I recognized that I got like one laugh in you know, the 3 minutes I had to do or whatever. But it was like a huge win.
But just doing it is the thing. Like I tell people all the time, like new comics are like, what do I do? You just do it. You get up and do it.
It's one of the few jobs that, like, the minute you, like, it's all on site training.
Right.
You know, there's not like, oh wait, let's practice brain surgery and then
right.
You know, it's like, no, you're getting on stage and you are doing it.
Yeah.
The quality will depend on your experience and your talent or whatever, but yeah, there's nothing else to do but do it.
But that's a huge difference between comedy and music, where like I could sit in the studio and pick up any one of these guitars, and practice, and that practicing will determine how good I am on the day. But like,
you could also use it as an excuse, because I'm sure we all know men and ladies that just practice and practice and practice and just use it as an excuse to not perform. I know so many guitarists that were like, "Well, I'm not ready yet." It's like, dude, at a certain point,
you're gonna have to.
You got to do it. I don't care if it's a block party, if it's in the garage in front of 10 people.
Speaking of block parties, did you see All American Rejects is doing?
I did
a backyard party.
I just played
tour?
a block party last week.
Your band did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on Sunday we did. But yeah, I saw All American Rejects is doing that. It's great.
That's awesome.
It's so great.
And it like their reasoning was, look, we're not charging $25 for parking. We're not charging like these bullshit fees from Ticketmaster. I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's a band that
it's a very punk thing to do. I know it's sort of like, but like, yeah, very punk thing to do.
But it's talking about bands that like you don't appreciate. I was not an All American Rejects, like that whole genre of rock. Like, I went from like metal. I was the opposite of you. I was the hair metal, skin tight leather pants, long hair, that guy. And then somehow I found, I don't say somehow, I got into country. I was in the Army and I was stationed in the South. Got into country. Yes. That's just the way it was. But like, I heard some All American Reject stuff that I was kind of like, this is fine. I guess this is what the genre is. But when I heard that they were playing a backyard party tour, I was like, I have nothing but respect for those guys now.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
No, it's great. It's great. And I bet it'll be the most fun experience of their life, because it'll be getting back to.
Yeah.
Be getting back to what they do. You know, in my day job life, like I've been on tour documenting like big bands, and I always notice how much it doesn't seem like fun, or they don't seem like they are having fun.
Because it's that's one of the things that's similar between comedy and music. Like the art itself, the thing you do is the thing you love. It's the
Everything
business
else
portion of
around
it. That I just got dropped by my agent, my theatrical agent. I'm pretty sure I got dropped, but because
If you're pretty sure, then you did.
It's because, and I know why, and I totally get it. The art of the thing that I'm doing is more important to me than the going
Well, look,
out and
you love stand-up comedy. You live and die for stand-up comedy. When you dreamed of doing stand-up comedy, I don't think you dreamed of spending the hour or two before I got here setting up 3 cameras, setting up 4 lights. You're running a TV studio,
essentially.
Yep. And that's why, I struggle with the same thing because in my TV life, I make content all day.
Yeah.
And now as a comedian, you're expected to run a TV studio at the same time. And it's like, I've had club owners be like, well, you don't have enough of a social media following. And I'm like, because I just did a documentary with Kiss. I don't have time to come home and do a TikTok after that. Like my brain is kind of burnt at that point.
And it's so funny you say that because there's a hard drive over there that has an hour-long 3-camera shoot that I did in 2019, right before the world went to hell. And I finally was like, I'm going to edit this and I'm going to put it out and it's just going to be like, here it is. And clearly I can do it. I have literally a TV studio in my house.
Yes.
I went to school for it. But it's that portion of the thing that I don't want to do. Because it's not the creative, it's not the getting on stage, and people will say, why don't you hire someone to do it? Because I'm not rich. I have some money, but I don't have hiring people to edit my hour special money.
It's the blessing and the curse of this technology and stuff being available to the layperson. It's my phone, I'm sure with you, is a more powerful TV studio than my college had.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So the only excuse for not doing it is putting in the time and the energy. Now, if you're sitting on your couch all day and you're too lazy to go edit that, that's one thing. But it's not like you don't have a million other things going on and you're not doing sets every night. And it's hard. And there are so many comedians in this community, especially in Los Angeles, that I'm friends with that are all about, every social media post is about, the grind and the this and the that. Yeah. And maybe it's because I'm older now, but like,
I'm tired of grinding.
Well,
for a long
it's
time.
not only that, but you need a little time every day to do nothing.
Yeah.
Like burnout is a real thing. It's
why I quit radio.
Yeah. It's not bragging anymore to be, when I was in my 20s, it was like, oh, I was in the edit and I for 36 hours straight to get this show done. That doesn't impress me now.
Nope.
It's work smarter, not harder.
I had 2 transient ischemic attacks and a heart attack in 6 months from 2023 to like the beginning of 2024 because of grinding, constantly grinding all the time. And people may not know who I am. They've not heard my name. Actually, I had somebody come up to me the other night at a thing that I did. It was like, hey, listen, I never heard of you until like yesterday when I was like, that's fine. But I have been grinding since I was literally 18 years old.
Right.
I joined the Army at 18, and it's been a high op tempo life literally for 30 years.
Yeah.
And then, I had enough cardiac incidents that I went to the VA and they were like, so I walked in the VA one day and because I had another situation, and the guy goes, he scans my card, looks, he goes, oh, stroke guy. I was like, hey, don't call me stroke guy. Like, I'm not Norm. This isn't Cheers.
Right.
Like, I don't need a nickname.
Right.
He goes, yeah, but this is the 3rd time you've been here. So you're going to go into the ER, right? Like, I went into the ER. I was like, there's a dude with a stab wound right there. They're like, yeah, he'll be okay. This is the 3rd time you've been here.
So what does it say about the profession that we've chosen? Correct me if I'm wrong. were you not shot in the head?
I was.
Getting shot in the head didn't kill you, but comedy almost did.
Well, it was a comedy. You know what? Yeah.
So, like, let's put that in perspective.
Yeah. I mean, it was a combination of comedy, my radio job, because that was...
Well, you hated doing that job.
Which, it's... Okay, it's not that I hated that job. And you know what? I think it's been a year since I quit, and I've never really made an announcement, so I'm going to make an announcement right now. I retired from radio. I don't do radio anymore. I quit last May. No, last May was the last time I was on the air. August, I officially went, I'm not doing this anymore. I quit radio. It's what I went to college for. It's what I did in the Army.
Right.
I'm saying it right now. I've never said it until now. I officially am not on the air anymore. I quit radio. I have people coming up to me at shows. They're like, hey, I don't hear you on KNX anymore. I'm like, yeah, because it almost killed me.
Yeah.
Quite literally. And it wasn't that I hated the job. Let's put that out.
Okay.
It's not that I hated the job. I just didn't care anymore.
Right.
But
it's also burnout.
It is burnout.
I did a podcast with you once. This was probably like 12 podcasts ago. I can't keep track of all your
I do a
podcasts.
lot of podcasts.
Where you were on the radio for 4 hours, whatever, and then you came home and then essentially did another radio show with me. It's like, and no disrespect to the people that are grinding, that are working on assembly lines and service worker and stuff like that. But there is also, like, when you are grinding and it's creative and you have to be on, or you're producing content, you're thinking up content, like, you need to, like, take a break.
Yeah, because I was getting up, and I still get up. Now it's a little later. I let myself sleep in until 7 a.m. now, which is insane. I was getting up at 5 a.m. every morning, going to the gym for 2 or 3 hours, then going to work on the radio at a news station, on this biggest news station in the second largest city in the country, hearing the worst news 5 hours a day, pumped into my brain nonstop for 10 years. And it was the stress of that on top of, I'm still trying to have a comedy career. I'm still being an actor until my agent dropped me, playing in bands, trying to have a relationship, and like whatever philanthropic work I was doing. And I literally had no time. And I talk about the 2 TIAs and the heart attack I had back in 2024. Over the course, I did the math. Over the course of 2 years, I had 8 emergency room visits. Since I quit, I've been in the ER 0 times.
And I think it's amazing for these people. Like, if you look at the wide shot, which one of us would you think has almost died like 12 times, and which one would you think has not a thing medically wrong with him? I'm the cockroach of this duo right here.
It's true. I've nearly died several times.
Yeah,
over the course of my life, whether in combat or it's anyway. But and the thing is, with like radio, I got into radio because I wanted to be Adrian Cronhauer from Good Morning Vietnam. I wanted to be I'm a music guy. I love music.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that in the Army. Like, I wanted to, but my recruiter, being a recruiter, was like, yeah, the job's not available right now, but we have another radio job for you. It's in a special operations unit. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but cool. Let's do that. Completely not what I wanted. It was not the thing that I wanted to do. And then, I wound up being, I did active rock and active top 40 for a while, but then I wound up in a news station, really just to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Like,
I always wanted to do radio.
Yeah.
Always wanted to. But what my dad did in the Army was, because it was during the draft, and he was like, okay, I could get drafted and have no say in anything. And I don't know if it's still like that, but actually there's no draft, so it's not like this. But at the time it was, if you got drafted, it was for 2 years. If you enlisted, it was for 3 years, but you got to choose what you wanted to do. So he enlisted and chose the Army band.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And played drums for 3 years in Germany.
Yeah. I mean, some of the branches still do that, where you're like, hey, this is what is available, and this is what we need you to do, and this is what you're qualified to do. So, yeah, man, comedy and music, like they just go hand in hand for me.
They go hand. It's the same rush, because I play in this dad band, and the getting on stage and like making people happy, and whether it's laughing or bob their heads or dancing or whatever, and it's interesting too, because now playing in this cover band that I play in just for fun, we play parties and some shows and stuff like that. But when I was younger, I was always in bands from 14 until like my kids were born. And regardless of what talent I had or didn't have, the end goal was always like, oh, we're going to get a record deal and we're going to tour and we're going to this. And obviously that never happened. So the irony is that music means so much to me. And now for the first time at my age, I'm playing in a band like purely for the love of music.
Right.
And playing cover songs that I would never listen to before, we were like a year into this band and one of the members was like, we should do an original. And I went, nobody wants to hear an original song from us. We're a bunch of moms and dads playing a fundraiser for the lacrosse team. Nobody wants to hear our original song.
Yeah.
We need to be the jukebox.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when Zeppelin's like, you guys want to hear something other than Freebird? No. Or not Zeppelin, Skinner.
Well, it's
I said Zeppelin. I should be fired.
It's okay. But like I've done, I sound like I'm name dropping, but we're talking about music. So I've done a lot of work with the group Kiss over the years, and they've told me before. Gene Simmons has told me before, like they would play it or whatever it is to 80,000 people, and he's like, you could the minute we'd play a song from the new record, you could just see everyone sit.
Really? Yeah.
No matter what new record it was, it could Destroyer could have been the new record at the time.
Yeah.
But whenever it was something from the new record, it was like,
really,
which is so well now they're retired, but when you go and see them, like it was, and they had the catalog to just do hit after hit after hit. But it's like people, they want shut up and play the hits. It was an LCD Sound System album. That's what people want.
Yeah. Which is why, and I keep bringing up this concert, like I think it was the most recent concert I went to, Clapton at the Hollywood Bowl.
Okay.
Didn't play Layla. Everyone waited. Everyone waited to the end, didn't play Layla.
That's an FU.
And we're just like, come on, man. You already didn't give a shit about this concert.
Yeah.
Like
I think you need to recognize, like, regardless of how long your career is, how deep your discography is, like, you got to give the fans what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the most disappointing concert you've been to?
The most disappointing concert I've been to, and I don't think it was because of the band, but I went to see the Police at Dodger Stadium on their reunion tour, and the Police are one of my all-time favorite bands, and it was the worst sound.
Acoustically, Dodger Stadium is awful.
I had never seen a concert there. I have not seen a concert since. And my wife and I, we had tickets all the way in whatever left field.
Yeah.
And all I heard was the guitar and hi-hat. And then it was, literally no vocals, no anything. And then, so we got up and we just like walked. And as we walked, it was like, okay, now I only hear the drums.
Yeah.
Now it was the mix for the room was so bad that I was disappointed because I had never seen them live the first time around. I had waited my whole life to see the Police in concert, and it just sucked.
The last concert I saw at Dodger, actually the only concert I've seen at Dodger Stadium, the weirdest lineup: Earth, Wind, and Fire, Journey, and Fleetwood Mac.
Wow.
Crazy lineup. Never been, I'd only been at Dodger Stadium, I think twice before for baseball games.
Yeah.
And I'm not a baseball guy. I fell asleep during a baseball game at Dodger Stadium my first year. The girl that went with me broke up with me immediately. She's a big Dodgers fan. And the second time, I think I just went to get drunk. Right. And so I go to see this incredible lineup. It's Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's Journey. It's Fleetwood Mac.
That's amazing.
Garbage
Sound.
acoustics. It's a baseball stadium. Like, the sound is going everywhere. It's not set up for music acoustically.
No.
And it was...
But they have the technology exists to make it sound good.
Yeah. They didn't use it.
No, exactly.
They were not the $6 million man.
Yeah.
They had the technology. They did not use it.
I know, exactly. Because I've seen shows at other baseball, Shea Stadium, Yankee Stadium, RFK Stadium, Giants, and it sounded okay. It was something about Dodger Stadium is just horrendous.
It's terrible.
So it was disappointing for that reason. But I haven't had a concert that I can think of where it was like, oh man, they didn't play any of their hits, so they didn't do the FU to the audience, you know.
How important do you think the link is between comedy and music?
The link?
Do you think, and this is the example I always bring up, there's clubs in LA where they have a sound guy, sound person, sound girl, sound person, who, you know, they'll play a walk-up song for you.
Right.
Is important to you to have walk-up music? And do you think it's important to the overall show to have that there?
I think the music's important. I'm not very often in a position where I can tell them what my walk-up song should be. I think that lots of times walk-up music is usually, you don't realize how important it is until someone plays the wrong music. Or the best is like when someone's making a commentary
Right.
on, you know, if I'm playing, you know, a predominantly Afro-American club and like I know, okay, they're going to play that funky music, White Boy is going to be my walk-up music.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I've had that happen like 3 or 4 times.
Okay. I was going to say, you know, you're in a predominantly black club and they just play like the most gangster rap song for you to come up
They play
to.
Hava Nagila as I'm walking up just to set the tone. I usually like my favorite walk-up music, if I can pick it, what I use 1 minute in Audio Slave Coaches.
Oh, yeah.
Because when that riff drops, it's just a high energy, like, so if I ever have a choice, not that the song has any deep meaning to me besides just being a great song.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I keep coughing. Like, I just want something that'll like hype. I don't need something that makes the lyrics make a comment on whatever, you know? As long as it's upbeat, I'm fine with it. I just think music and comedy, they both just elicit a response. I'm not a scientist to speak to like the serotonin or what happens when either you laugh or you hear a piece of music that moves you, but it's just you know, it's great to just be the one responsible for making someone feel that way. Right.
So it doesn't particularly matter to you what it is.
As long as the walk-up music is upbeat and it's, you know, I would love music that doesn't have lyrics if possible.
Yeah.
Because lots of times it comes under the host talking and then they're trying to do your intro and there's lyrics battling and stuff. But most times, as long as it's like upbeat and it just gets people bouncing, then that's cool.
You know, it's funny you say that. I just did this virtual corporate gig the other day, and I did like a pre-call with the company, and it's a corporation, it's a business, and it was a Zoom conference thing, comedy conference, public speaking, whatever it is.
So it was designed to be awesome from the beginning.
Yes, and I was like, you guys are in Northern California. I could drive that. I could have just come to you. That's fine. It's fine. I prefer doing it in my studio. It justified the $1,200 switching system that I bought. But on the pre-call, they're like, hey, so there's going to be like 5 or 10 minutes before we start the program. And we don't want it just to be quiet in the waiting room for everybody. Is there any music you'd like, Thom, to play while I was in there? And I went, yeah, I'm a big Wu-Tang fan. So if you could get some Wu-Tang. And the person who hired me from the company, African-American, and she, because I said it very seriously.
Yeah.
And she kind of went, I'll check with HR, but maybe if we can get an instrumental version of the Wu-Tang.
I was going to say, did they play the clean version? Because that would just be to protect your neck.
Yeah.
M-E-T.
And it was just
like every other word would be dropped.
And the fact that she was like, maybe if we find an instrumental version of what do you think there's a karaoke version of the Wu-Tang Clan?
That's funny.
Play for me. But I said it very seriously, so they weren't sure, and I was kind of grumpy on the call.
I did a law enforcement fundraiser once, and they said, "What do you want your music to be?" And straight face, I said, "Fuck the police."
Hilarious.
And they looked at me. I was like, "I'm just kidding."
Hilarious.
No, it's killing in the name of. No, I'm just. Yeah. I mean, okay. Let me ask you a question. How many times a day do you make a joke or a comment that is strictly for your own amusement?
All the time.
Like it's for an audience of one.
Oh, all the time.
That's
I'll be
almost
walking
as
down
much
the
fun
street.
as getting on stage.
Yeah. And then my favorite part is when I know for a fact that that joke's going to be funny to me and maybe one
Right.
other person, and I still do it on stage, and I don't give a shit what the audience thinks.
Yes.
I'm like, all right, that was for me. That was for me.
I've had one or two jokes that I've done repeatedly that have never gotten a laugh, and it just makes me.
How long
laugh.
do you do a joke that you know doesn't work until you're like,
Well,
maybe I
the
won't.
first 2 or 3 times, if I do it 3 or 4 times and it never gets a laugh,
Right.
then I know, like, okay, it's not them, it's me.
I've heard people say they'll do a joke 12 times before.
Are they tweaking it each time, or they're doing it the same way?
I mean, I'm sure they've got to be tweaking it,
Yeah.
trying to make it better. I mean, I get a half dozen times. Like I saw Chappelle at the store getting ready for, a special, and it's Chappelle, so he was getting spots every night for a week long. And he would take a joke from just like It's a Deception to what wound up being on Netflix.
Well, if it's evolving, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like a joke that like I did the same exact way.
Oh,
a couple of times, and it didn't get a laugh. And sometimes I tweak it and work on it. Other times I'm like, I think this is it, and if it's not good, it's not good. But there are still 1 or 2 that like that I've done anyway. If it's a longer set and I know all the other stuff kills, it's like, okay, this one's for me.
This is for
Like,
me.
This is for me.
I'm just doing this for me. You're in a unique position to answer this question because you do play music. You're in a band and you're also a comedian. There's a TikToker that put up a clip earlier. He was in a band. He's a musician, and he was defining, and this was great. Maybe I don't know if I can bring it up. He was talking about the difference between a gig and a set. And I'd never heard it put like this before. And I think just maybe subconsciously I thought about it. But he was like, a gig is the thing you get paid for to do. You show up, you play the hits.
Right.
Maybe you're the filling guitarist in a country band that night, or you're filling in for, the church guitarist that weekend.
Right.
That's a gig as opposed to a show, which is like people are there
To see you.
To see you.
Right.
And in our world, in comedy, then we have just spots. So we have like gig shows and spots.
Right.
Do you think that's an accurate description of those?
Well, I mean, I think just in comedy, like if you're headlining, then most of the people are there to see you.
Right. But the thing is, it's weird because like we have in LA specifically, what I would consider spots,
Right.
and shows.
Right.
So do you think a spot would be what musicians call a gig, where like I'm in a lineup with 11 other comedians, which is a thing that happens in LA.
Yes.
I just got an email about a thing. I'll tell you about it later. But like a spot would be, I'm showing up. There's 9 other comics on the show.
No, you're right. There's a difference because, like, I was Friday. I was at the Kookaburra Lounge, and I did a spot. And it was 6 minutes, and it was whatever. This coming Sunday, I don't know when this is airing, but this coming Sunday, I'm featuring for Greg Fitzsimmons at the Brea Improv.
Oh, Greg.
And yeah, he's a great guy. And that to me is like a show. They're not there to see me, but it's like I'm doing 25 minutes or whatever it is. It's like not a 8 minute or 6 minutes at the Kookaburra. So it to me, I equate it more to like practice or the game, or like the gym and a game.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? That, like, the spots most of the time are like the workout kind of.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
the show is like the game.
Absolutely.
It's like the scrimmage, or okay, we're just going to run this play 4 times to get this down.
And sometimes you got to do 9 spots before you do the show.
I mean, I did a pilot a few years ago with Pete Holmes, and he had just put a special out at the time, and it was real. I can't remember which one it was. It was the one before this last one, and I was like, it was hilarious. And he goes, he goes, thanks. He's like, I really wish I could have run it like another 70 times.
Another 70
and as
times.
someone that like fights to, I'm
Right.
not, I don't have a booking agent. Any spot I get or show I get is because of a call or a friendship or whatever. I'm like 70 times.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, because there was like a couple spots I really wanted to nail. And I was like, geez. And whereas I get so bored of hearing myself talk, like I just recently started, I was hitting a little bit of a block writing new material. So I went back because I'm so anal and I have such like fastidious records of like every set I've ever done and everything. And I went back and was like, let me look at some things that I did 2 or 3 times years ago that either didn't land or I abandoned for some reason or maybe didn't have the skill set at the time to make funnier. And I've been like rewriting myself, and because I would turn over material so fast, especially when you're first starting and it's like all your friends are coming out to see you, it's like there's a club of like 90 people and I'm going, oh, well, but Thom heard this joke before. So like, and it's like you end up playing to an audience of one because you're like, oh, my neighbor's coming and she heard me do that bit.
Yeah.
So I turned shit over so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have that problem with a certain club here in LA where I want to impress the booker so much.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't play there a lot. I do, but I respect this person so much and I don't want them to hear the same garbage over and over again. But at the same time, I'm like, this audience maybe hasn't heard this garbage and it's good garbage. It is the stuff that's killing right now.
I was going over my set today for this show with Greg on Sunday, and I actually like looked back at the set like the last time I featured him. And I was like, how much have I done?
Yeah.
And I'm like, in the end, I don't think Greg's gonna remember one. I think he's ever remembered one joke I've ever done. He just remembers the audience reaction.
Right.
So I'm like, I can't alter the set just because I want to impress.
Right.
Greg Richardson.
You know what?
I can a little, but
Right.
because I don't want him to think, oh, this guy hasn't written material since the last time. But at the same time, it's who was it, NBC or who was it that had that genius like it may if you haven't seen it, it's new to you. That was like I don't remember. It was like that was their summer slogan for TV programming.
Really?
If you haven't seen it, it's new to you, which means reruns. But yeah, so because I was realizing like I had a lot more B material than I had A material because I wasn't giving the B material the love to become the A material. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Totally.
So now I've started like going back and digging stuff up and being like, yeah, that was really promising. Why did I only do it twice? Oh, probably because it didn't kill, and then this shiny new thing did kill, and I got excited by that.
Right.
And and also when you're in that opening slot, like you also have to look at what your role is, right? Like if I'm hosting or I'm the feature spot, especially if I'm hosting, like I'm not trying out new stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Because my job is to, take the bullet, pump the audience up, and set up the feature and the headliner to succeed.
Yeah,
that's not my playtime to try stuff out.
Absolutely.
If I'm featuring, like I may, very carefully like slip stuff in, and that's to me, I guess, the difference between the spots and the shows. Like when I did the Kookaburra last week, I did 8 minutes, whatever, and 6.5 minutes of it were brand new.
Nice.
No, because it did horribly. but that's why I did it there. Right. I'm not going to do that at the Improv Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of use LA as the place where I'm working out material because when I do a corporate gig or I'm like,
well, you do the road more than me,
which is not even a lot. I mean, I don't do a lot of clubs anymore just because it's a lot of time and it's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Whereas like I have 3 corporates this month and I will
they pay well though.
I will tell you off the air how much I'm making.
I believe you haven't told me and I believe you.
Yeah. It's essentially 3 hours of work. 2 of those hours were virtual. So no traveling, whatever. I mean, I love getting up on stage in front of, you know, an audience, but like if maybe it's because I'm in my 40s and I've done the road and I've been around the world, and you know, I'm happily in a relationship now, so I'm just not like slinging dick everywhere I go.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, it's what it is. And but it's not enough money to be what it is anymore. Like I'm not doing theaters, I'm doing comedy club weekends. And
well, I have friends ask me all the time, friends and family, they ask me all the time, like, you know, when are you going to move on from TV and just do comedy full time? And I said, I don't know if I ever will, because at the place I am in that career and in my life and in my family and financially being a homeowner and all that stuff, like
a mortgage is some real
yeah. People say to me all the time, oh, when are we going to see your name on the side of the Comedy Store? I said, never. Because I at my age, I'm not about to quit and become a doorman so I could come up in their system.
Yeah.
And, you know, and power to them. Like if I was 25 and I was crashing on friends' couches, like, yeah, I would do that. But I can't right now. You know, I could go on the road and I could feature and I could, you know, but it's, the economics just.
Yeah. But also, like, I like my bed. I like eating what I eat. Like, but the road is so hard when you're trying to stay healthy and like literally you're.
I don't have a problem. No, but it's also it's because you've been there and you've done it. If you flash back 20 years, wait a minute, someone's going to pay me to come to Oklahoma? Yeah, I'll go to Oklahoma. Yeah, you know, like
I've been to all 50 states.
Yeah,
I've played in 46 of them.
There you go. So, you know, it's the same thing if you're backstage and you see a big huge band being like, oh man, we have to sound check, and you're a kid going, you get a sound check? Mm-hmm. Like our set got cut short because the band before us didn't get off in time. You get a sound check? Like it's all, you know, it's all perspective. It's like when you've been there and done that, then it's like, but think of it in the eyes of like those coming up. You know, I one of the first road gigs I did was like Arizona. It was like Stir Crazy or something in Arizona.
I just headlined there.
Yeah, I saw on your. So I featured there for comedian Lisa Alvarado.
Lisa,
she took me. Buddy. She took me, and it's funny you talk about like slinging dick and stuff. I'm the feature, so I drove.
Yeah,
and I had met her in Vegas. I was opening for Eleanor Kerrigan, and Lisa was there the following week and came early and saw me. So she said, "Do you want to do this gig?" And I said, "Sure." And you know, so I drove, and we're driving for 6 hours. And I said, you know, thanks so much for booking me. And she goes, you want to know why I booked you? And I said, sure. And she goes, you know, I think you're funny, you know, but you also seem responsible and like you're an adult, and you're not going to miss the show. And I'm not going to worry about you trying to the waitresses.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to have to wake you up drunk to get, you know, like you seem a guy like just has his crap
That's
together.
Literally why I think Brad brings me on tour sometimes, because he's like, I know you will get up at 5 o'clock to make a flight from Oslo to.
There you go. So,
Amsterdam.
So when we got to Arizona, you know, Lisa, who's hilarious, and she's been doing this, working hard for a long time. She's like exhausted. She's like, and I was like the kid in a candy store, because I was like, I'm getting paid to come to Arizona and do a show and whatever, you know. And so what was, you know, a pain in the butt to her, I was like psyched about. You know, so it's all like where you are and what your, you know, perspective is.
Yeah, just like we mentioned earlier, it's like when you've done the thing, it's the art of it. It's the being on stage. It's telling the jokes. It's the making the people laugh. The stuff I hate is the driving, the press, the flying, all of that. All the stuff that's not.
But you could look at it as someone in the press wants to talk to you.
I could.
But I'm just saying, and look, you got to understand, I am a cynical, like negative guy. Like I'm fighting hard to like be more positive and to kind of just for my own mental health, like turn my POV around. And like if someone said you have to get up at 5 a.m. to do radio, I'd be like, someone on the radio wants to talk to me? Like, okay, I'll do it. Now, do it for 20 years, and I may be like, oh, geez, I got to get up at 5 a.m. for radio. But there's always somebody else out there that's like, what an amazing opportunity that is.
Yeah.
You know?
There definitely is.
There definitely is someone out there.
That person is usually in their 20s.
Yes.
And they're usually drunk a lot.
Or where they are in their career.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
Yeah, but I hear you. I mean, it's that old thing of like, I love the 45 minutes every day that I'm on stage and everything else that's around it. You know? I haven't done that grind long enough that it's, you know, that I'm like burned out on that part of it.
Right.
You know?
Oh, good. Let's hope it stays that way.
Let's hope no one ever knows who you are and you're never in demand and no press ever wants to speak to you.
I enjoy that my neighbors, for the most part, don't know what I do for a living.
Yeah.
Like, I go to the gym, nobody bothers me. I go to the grocery store, nobody bothers me. Like, I have friends who are very successful and very famous, and it's obnoxious being around them.
Yeah, but you don't do like a casino gig or something and then you're walking across the casino floor afterwards and people stop you and say, oh, that was really funny, that was great, and that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, but...
Or someone wants to take your picture after the show. That just started happening to me. But
that's
feels
after
awesome. I'm not going to lie, it feels amazing.
Yeah, but that's after I've done the thing.
Right, so you're still on that high of getting...
Well, it's not even that. It's like, I understand. Listen, this is my place of business. I just did my thing, whether it was a comedy club, a casino, a corporate gig, whatever. Yes, in this time and space, in this room, I understand I was on that stage, and now you want to say hi and take... Cool, 100% down with that.
Yeah.
If I'm at the grocery store, like I have a buddy who's on Nickelodeon for a very long time. Me, him, and another comic went to see a movie. And we came out of that movie, 3 grown men in our 40s, went to see Bumblebee because we're Transformers fans.
I couldn't think of a cheesier movie quicker.
And we came out and he got absolutely mobbed. And like, I get it. I get it why this is happening.
Yeah.
I would hate this.
I will say, in my day job, having worked with a lot of famous people and toured with them and being around them, like, there are some people who are just assholes and it's just who they are. But I've seen the complete lack of self and lack of respect that fans can, without meaning harm, but just clueless idiots. And so I can understand, like, you know, you hear some celebrities like, can you just back up? Or I'm with my family right now. It's like, if you had 20 years of people going like, you know, I pay your salary and screaming shit at you, you'd be a little, you know. So I wouldn't want to be swarmed like that. But a couple photos after show is like a fun thing. Or the next day at, you know, the breakfast buffet at the casino and people come up to you. It's like, you know, I'm not tired of that yet.
I mean, it's still surprising to me when people come up to me, like, outside of the place of work. Like, I was in an airport one time. I think I was flying out of Houston, and I just opened my computer, and I was doing something on my computer, and I had a bunch of stickers on the computer. It was like, it was all the Thom Tran stickers. It was like Van Halen, the Transformers, a U.S. Army sticker. It was like all the things that went, oh, that's Thom.
Yeah.
And someone just came up to me and they're like, I wasn't sure if it was you, but then you opened your... She literally said, then you opened your laptop and I saw the stickers.
It didn't say Transtastic across your laptop?
It should have. That was cool, but I'm still like, oh, wow, that's weird that happened.
Yeah.
But it happens, and here's the thing, it happens so rarely and infrequently that, okay,
it's cool.
Once in a while it's cool. But like I said, my buddy, we can't go out to certain places because he'll get mobbed, and he hates that. I hate being with him when it happens.
It also could be, on the flip side, it could be lonely. So I'll name drop again, but the story is relevant. Okay. So my 40th birthday party, my wife threw me a poker party at our house. There's this great company, I'll give them a plug, called Dealer Dolls, where like they're these amazing, very attractive but smart, great women that come and they bring like the poker table and they set up and they run the room, and it's like a lot of fun. So we had a poker party, and she invited Gene Simmons and Shannon Tweed to come to the party, and they don't do like anything socially, but they came. The doorbell rings, opens up, and Gene Simmons and Shannon Tweed come, and they're standing in my house. I'm like, oh my God, this is so great. And they went and like sat in my family room while the party, all the poker was going on like in the other room because they felt like intimidated because they didn't know anyone.
Right.
And then nobody at the party approached them because they probably thought, oh, they don't want to be bothered or whatever.
Right.
And it was like a little kid, like having, like, I had to like coax them in. And then once they like joined the mix, they were the life of the party. And Gene, who doesn't know a thing about poker, cleaned up, of course, and took everyone's money.
He doesn't know anything about
No, he
poker.
honestly doesn't know how to play. He is, besides being everything that he is, smart, whatever, like he just steps and shit like you would not believe. And he just got hand after hand and cleaned up. But they were like, if I didn't like make the play date happen, like people would never have approached them, and they would have just sat on my couch in the other room and been like, yeah, this is a great party, you know? So like, I don't know if your friend feels that way, but it could be isolating, like at the same time a little bit,
Could be.
you know?
Yeah. But he has a pretty solid group of friends who they all work in the same sphere. So thank you so much for coming over.
No,
man.
thanks for having me, as always.
This is a good time. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Mr. Adam Freeman, at MrAdamFreeman.com, Mr. Adam Freeman on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
Okay.
It's all at Mr. Adam Freeman.
All right. Do you have any big shows coming up?
I have like I said, when is this airing? I have the Improv this Sunday, which is March 25th, which is probably passing.
That. Yeah.
I'm at the Ice House on the 31st, May 31st.
Maybe.
I'm in Reno at the Laugh Factory.
Is Harry still booking that?
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to him.
Yeah.
I still haven't done the Reno Laugh Factory, which is insane.
Yeah. And then he's being so top secret, but they're landing a deal to open Vegas. That's supposed to be very cool because Vegas was at the Trop that got torn down. So Harry's been working really hard at finding a great new home.
Excellent
for that. But yeah, go to all those places. You know, you'll see dates.
Well, thank you for coming over.
Thank you, sir. I look forward to being back on when you have another podcast under a different name. You're like in the witness protection program of podcasts.
It's, you know what? And it's not that like I get, it's always a thing. Like the last one we did, the food one, the company paid me for X amount of time to do it.
But then there was a ghost one.
Yeah. And my co-host moved to Atlanta.
And then Aaron Marsh he helped you a little bit.
He's fallen off the planet, so I don't know. But we're gonna stick with this one for
okay.
Because this is
fun.
This comedy and music, and it's the things that I love.
Yeah.
And I need to justify all this very expensive studio equipment I bought. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Our new episode every Tuesday, Thursdays. You know, best of or list show or just random goofy stuff. Also, I guess I can announce this now. I'm one of the regular hosts on Task and Purpose, along with Shannon Colbert. So those of you who don't know, my military background has landed me a job at Task and Purpose. So they put up episodes whenever they put it. I think Tuesdays and Fridays. I should know this, but I don't.
It's only military people paid attention to detail.
Yeah. But I'll be over on Task and Purpose. I've got a lot of touring stuff coming up, so check the website, ThomTran.com. Follow me online at _ThomTran, THOMTRAN. The website or the show is at Comedy on 11 Pod. And thanks for listening, and I'm going to turn the laughs up to 11.